Yeah. So as a senior account manager at Native, I am the main client go-to. So lots of meetings internally and also client presentations. But yeah, the main liaison between our agency and the clients and making sure that everyone's on the same page, they get what they need on time, on budget, that we also know each other a little personally too. So that's my role.
So how do you explain that to somebody who doesn't know advertising or marketing?
Um, that's a good question. That basically the client, I guess they would probably understand it the same as, we have clients that have specific projects they need, and they need one person here to be like their main advocate of, here's their goals and what they're trying to accomplish, and here's maybe specifics about them we need to know, and then make sure that our work reflects that and that they're happy and we do good
Yep,
work.
that sounds about right. So what has been since you've been at Native, what has been something that the team has maybe been surprised to learn about you, whether it's like a stupid party trick or a personality quirk or something like that? What do you think is something that as people have learned about you that's caught their attention?
Oh, I like that. I would say, well, I think we've had a random conversation about how I have like this crazy Lil John voice. That's really funny. But I think in general, just since I have two little boys, I think some of our coworkers are like, don't, not that they think I'm boring, but when we've been out, like at Jess's wedding reception, they're like, dang, you know how to have fun. Which people that know me know that I do, but just on a coworker setting, it takes a few times to like let loose and let people know that you are fun. So
Yeah, that's
I'd
hilarious.
say that.
Still got it.
Yeah, I still got it. And actually, I might even go a little more crazy now when I finally get out. That's like
Right,
Jess's wedding. It was like,
right.
whoa, I don't have to be home.
Yeah, no curfew.
Yeah, exactly.
So before you came to Native, what do you think was probably your best gig? What was your best job or before Native?
Yeah. So I would say on a work related note, for sure working for Houlihan's Restaurants Company. So based here in Kansas City, but I had a lot of great leaders there. It's just an awesome company. And that's kind of where I realized that I like the account service role. So it was different then. It was with the local general managers for our corporate restaurants and also franchise stores. But that was kind of where I realized, like, I actually care if their restaurant succeeds and want to help them. And I like being a part of all the creative stuff that helps it along the way. And
So
then non-work related is definitely Culver's. So I think everyone can learn something about just customer service and how to treat people. And also they have delicious burgers and ice cream. But I think there's just a lot to be said. I already love talking to people, but just from the moment people came up the drive-through, it's like you have a chance to make a difference in their day. And if they're in a really bad mood, maybe make them happier. So I really liked just the people aspect, and who doesn't love custard? So.
yeah, that's cool. So when you were at Houlihan's in their corporate office, what about that job prepared you for Native? Like, what do you felt like transferred like really well? And I guess the other part of that would be like, what did you then have to kind of like bone up on once you got to Native? Like, oh, I need to, spend a little time here.
Yeah, I think what I really got prepared for was working with the creative team at Houlihan. Since we were an in-house marketing team, I mean, they were my buds, and we were all working on the same project. So I really have a knack for kind of how to talk to and deal with the creative team and make them feel more like when we are all on the same page and the same team. So having it be less about like us versus them type of thing. Client wise, I think it's similar. I think when I came to Native though, it was definitely needed to be more buttoned up and a little more formal versus I mean, who, like general managers, you know, they're just different than let's say if a CFO is your main contact or a marketing manager at a company. So just kind of learning how to navigate that while still being personable, but making it a little more official and formal, I guess.
Yeah.
I think what I had to learn too is, you know, just like some of my hesitations about joining an agency, just like having to bill your time and having to keep track of everything you do more. But it's just a part of what I do every day, so it's not that big of a deal. But that was something I kind of like, whoa, I actually have to tell people exactly what I did for X amount of hours.
Yeah.
And it's important, but at Houlihan's, you know, you just did it. So that was interesting.
Yeah. That it's funny how timesheets always comes up in the conversation between in-house versus, you know, agency. Is like, if they go in-house, they're like, hey, don't have to do timesheets. It's
Yeah,
always surprising to me how that's like one of the first things people think of.
for sure. I think one of the other things that I really like about, I mean, one of the reasons I made the switch and that I really like is even though it was a variety of projects at Houlihan's, now I mean, that's why I switched, was because, I mean, it's the same brand, even if it's different. And so I love that about Native. It's like, I could work on for a resort company or a financial service, but they're all creative and have unique problems. And it's just cool to have that variety. So I always laugh that I wanted a variety with Native, and it's like, yes, I have definitely gotten a variety. You
Yeah.
never know what you're going to get, but I like that.
We keep people on their toes.
For sure. I think one of the other things about that I was worried about while switching to an agency was just the teams would maybe be more siloed, like coming from an in-house team especially, but at Native it's not like that at all. Like, of course you have the people that can relate to you more, that you might talk to about specific things, but on every project I feel like we're a team, and you know, the creative and strategists work together, and they care about what the account managers think too, which is really cool. So yeah, I would say I was worried about that, but it's definitely not the case at all.
Yeah, you talk about that a little bit, like the creative team and account team frequently do this at other places. I've definitely been at places like that.
Yeah,
And it's almost like the creatives are almost at odds with the account team.
it's like
And I
they
don't,
think that we don't want them to have any fun or be able to do what they want, which,
yeah.
yeah.
So why do you think we've been able to avoid that?
I mean, I think a big part of it is just having great people, of course, like people that work well together, that want the best work for our clients and our company. But I also think a lot of the processes that we have in place now, like it just allows it to be smoother without so many surprises where something could go totally down one path and be wrong. We would catch that way sooner. So I think it's the perfect blend of having processes and things everyone tries to follow, but then also realizing like each client's a little different, each employee's a little different. So it can't be so strict all the time. But I think that's definitely what helps.
Yeah, if you ask me, I would say I think everybody respects each other's discipline, but you're right on the process piece. I think part of the process is just understanding what role everybody plays, and that allows you to respect what they're doing because you know what they're trying to accomplish too.
Exactly.
So it's like,
Exactly.
oh yes, that's right. We're working together. You're going to take care of that. I'll do this, because I think where it starts is when you don't have any awareness of what the other discipline is doing, so you don't respect it, and it just feels
Right.
like they're trying to stop you from doing that thing that you want, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I also just think our creative team is really cool here, though. I mean, that's like one of my favorite parts is being on a logo project, and they'll even explain things more about their process and thinking in like a client presentation than an internal. Because I think sometimes they think we all just know it, and I'm like sitting there like, that is so cool that that's the thinking that went into it. to get to this really cool looking logo or something. So I'm kind of just like sitting there learning about it, and it gets me really excited.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of really driven people too, on that team. What drives you? What motivates you to do good work?
Yeah, I think, just working as a team, making clients happy. I mean, I'm definitely a people person, which is why I'm in this role, but it's been interesting and also cool just to not have totally easy clients along the way. So kind of ones that you have to win over a little more. And of course, that's a group effort of doing really good work to let them trust us, but also making sure you're communicating really well and that you're the main contact that they trust at our company. So I would say winning over, or just kind of having that good relationship that extends into new work, but also winning over the tougher ones, or trying to anyway.
Right.
I won't
If you,
name any specific names because this might get
sure.
recorded. No.
Right. Exactly. Just in case this is recorded.
Yeah.
Um, if you think about some of the relationships you have with our existing clients right now, what do you value most about those relationships? What do you think they value most about those relationships?
I think it's just feeling like they really do have a go-to person, and that what their concerns or questions are will really get addressed. It's like the worst thing if you'd have a presentation and they'd have this big concern or thing they felt like got off base, and then that wasn't communicated to the rest of the team, and then they saw it the next round and it was like, hey guys, this is still off, like I told you and you didn't listen. So I think it's just being that main force of, we hear you, we're gonna make it right, and they feel confident in that because you're good at your job, you want what's best for them, and you see that through from the beginning to the end.
Yeah. If you think about, a typical week at Native, what's the thing that you look forward to, or the thing that energizes you the most?
I would probably say like branding, specifically logo presentations, which have there's always something interesting about those, but um, I just think it's really cool to hear, where the client is currently, where they want to go, and then see how that plays through in messaging and also visually. And just to hear kind of what they lean towards. I really like hearing also like what our creative team really likes, and then maybe what my favorite is, and kind of guessing what the client will choose. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. Those are always fun presentations to be in.
Yeah, but I think the messaging is really interesting too, because a lot of clients think that they're already, messaging well or talking to the right people the right way, and then they see that presentation, they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. I had no clue what we were kind of missing out on. It's just organized really well for them to really be able to use.
Yeah. It's so true. It's hard for me to even think of a client that we've worked with who didn't need or ask for a messaging playbook.
Exactly. And
And
then
then
when
when they
they see
get it,
it,
they're like,
they're like,
oh,
oh,
right,
yes, I've been waiting my whole life for this. I didn't know
right.
it.
Yeah. In some ways, it sounds basic, but yeah, the number of clients who said we need help with brand voice, we don't know exactly what our messaging points should be. It's pretty common.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to help there. I get asked this question a lot because I'm always talking with people who are sort of candidates for positions and things like that. And they'll always ask me or someone else, why they chose to work at Native. How do you answer that question?
I think it was a perfect next step for me in wanting to see what the agency side was like, but not wanting, but the small aspect of it was like comforting to me. I knew it'd be fast paced, and it definitely is, but I think it was just a good next step instead of going to this like 50-person, 75-person agency. So I think it just lets you see, what the people are all about, and have a better feel of like where the company is going or wants to go when it's smaller. But yeah, I also think, I mean, I know I'm not don't have to say this, but when I met with you and Jackie, it was just, I just felt like excited and comfortable. I could tell that there were good people that led the company and that it would be exciting to be a part of it. So,
That's cool. Do you remember how many people were here when you joined?
like, I want to say like 8 or 9, maybe.
Yeah. So what has changed other in that time between 8 or 9 people to now we have 25 people? We're 5 years old. What have you seen change over that time?
I think definitely just adding on. So, you know, seeing kind of like the different teams grow and have different strengths across the board. So it makes it more of kind of like a, I don't know, taking everyone's strengths versus just two people's strengths is awesome. Um, I think it helps just to have more of a team aspect too, like having more account managers. And also now that, you know, Bailey is on all my projects as the project manager, you don't feel like you're so much, you know, on an island with the clients. And then you just feel like you have more, Bailey knows exactly what's going on with all the clients like I do. And it's just a good team dynamic.
Yeah. Basically
But
just kind of
definitely,
strengthening everything up, I think, right? Like what was good
exactly.
before just I think got better.
Exactly. And I think as we were able to grow, people were able to, you know, focus more on what they actually like. So, I mean, before I was doing project management and account management. Now that we have more people that are really good at project management, I can focus on other things. And
Yeah.
I know like the strategists think the same way. And, you know, everyone can kind of focus on what they're good at and they actually like to do. So,
Yeah. When you're a team of 8, everybody has at least 2 hats on, which
exactly.
has its benefits. Some people like that, but as we've grown, people can take a hat off and really focus in on that piece that they're really good at.
Exactly. Exactly.
So if you were to make a prediction of what we look like in 5 more years, once we hit our 10th birthday,
Oh
what,
gosh, that's crazy.
any ideas as you think about that?
Well, I mean, really exciting to be in the new office. So, I know everyone's really excited about that. Times are weird these days, but in 5 years, that'll be great. Um, I don't know. I think it's been cool that now that we are, you know, more established, we can be more choosy with what clients we choose to work with. So I think that'll just get even more, um, I guess I think to see where that evolves will be really interesting, but it's also cool that we've already been able to do that. So I can't imagine in 5 years, you know, how we'll be able to pick who we work with. So that's cool. I hope it's not too big. I hope it's like additional team members, but that I think that's the goal is like that you know, we grow where we need additional help, but that it still has that small vibe, which everyone really likes and appreciates.
Well, when you talk about being a little bit more selective with clients, it's not because we're snobbish. It's just because we want to work with good people and do work that we know will just knock out of the park versus
Exactly.
kind of just halfway do, right? And
Exactly. And like energize our team and make them excited about being a part of it.
truthfully, you said, I hope we're not too big. Size has a lot to do with that because as you start to grow, it kind of takes away your ability to turn down a project maybe that's not the right fit. But
Right.
as you kind of stay in that kind of mid-size range, like I think 30 to 60 is an ideal place to be in terms of people.
Yeah,
I think you can do
for
excellent work
sure.
and have a strong culture. So if we grow too fast, we won't be able to pass on a bad fit, right? But if we grow carefully, I think we can. So I'm with you.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Do you have any favorite stories that from your time at Native so far? Any ones that you like to share with friends? Sometimes I hesitate to share that or ask that question because sometimes those are the least appropriate stories to share, but I have to
That's
ask.
funny. I feel like we've had so many good hangouts and just I think like everyone, even though I'm really outgoing, it just takes a little while to feel comfortable with people like outside of work. I mean, when everyone was in the office, the vibe here is awesome and really fun. But I think like I'll always remember my first day when one of the other team members was leaving, and we went to that place in Power and Light and played that really fun game. And I could just tell, like, I know a couple of those people aren't here anymore, but there's definitely some that have stayed. So I remember that always and feeling like, I think her name was Natalie, but
Hmm.
you know, when she was saying all these things, like, I'm so sad to leave this great group of people. I mean, I thought like, yeah, they seem great, but you know, I just don't know them yet. And now I can totally see after being here over 2 years, like why she was so sad to go. So it was just a weird, like my first week and she was leaving and now I can totally see where she was coming from.
Yeah,
But I,
that was a good time. That was a good time. I remember. I think
yeah,
that we were about 8 people. That photo is still in our
yeah,
kitchen.
on the fridge.
And you're right. I think there's of the 8 people, there's two faces that aren't with us now, but 6 of us, obviously still carried on. And I
Yeah,
remember Natalie talking about how she was moving to Florida. Yeah, and she was pretty bummed.
yeah.
Leaving. Yeah, that's quite the entrance into the company for you.
Yeah, I think the other thing I just thought of that's pretty funny is for Jess's wedding reception, which was a blast. We tried to go to a bar like in Power and Light after, and I forgot my ID, so we couldn't go. But everyone was like, I think actually relieved that we couldn't go, so we just ended up going to like that little place by our office, and it was a blast. So we ate French fries at like 2 a.m. and we're glad that we weren't at a bar.
Yeah, that's cool.